From Perth to Melbourne and everywhere in between, severe weather warnings are current for damaging winds across much of southern Australia. Now, last night we saw those winds really impact southwestern parts of WA, where some locations saw their strongest wind gusts on record. Now, this system has now moved into South Australia, and that's going to move into Victoria later tonight with more widespread winds. But first, looking at what occurred in WA yesterday and last night, we saw widespread areas experience winds in excess of 65 kilometres an hour, but of some of our strongest wind gusts were down around our coastal communities through Perth all the way down to the Capes, where we saw some locations gust to 130 kilometres an hour, and numerous suburbs in the Perth metropolitan area recorded winds in excess of 100 kilometres an hour, their strongest winds on record. And that unfortunately caused trees and power lines to come down and also some property damage. But that wind is now moving on into South Australia. So looking at that in more detail, we can see this band of really strong winds impacting much of South Australia, and we see severe weather warnings current for that, where much of the state could see winds in excess of 90 kilometres an hour with these gusty conditions. And as we move into tonight, those winds will then move into western and elevated parts of Victoria, where we could see parts gust to 110 kilometres an hour, with our alpine areas possibly gusting up to 130 kilometres an hour. Now, that's destructive winds and likely to cause damage in that part of the world. As we move through, things will ease temporarily on Wednesday, but then increase again on Thursday as the next cold front in a series of cold fronts moves through southern Australia. Now, severe weather warnings are current, as I mentioned, for much of southern Australia for these damaging to locally destructive winds. We're also seeing damaging surf for many of our coastal communities in western and southwestern WA, where we're seeing wave heights reach up to 10 metres, and unfortunately that is causing significant beach erosion for many of our beaches in southwestern parts of WA. Now, it's not only the wind, but it's also the rainfall. While we do have just a light to moderate band of rain moving through today and tomorrow, it's this next front that'll tap into some tropical moisture and really bring some moderate to heavy rainfall across parts of Victoria and New South Wales. And that could lead to another possible flood event for inland parts of New South Wales. So looking at some of those rainfall totals, while we will see light to moderate falls right across WA and South Australia, the focus of the heaviest rainfall will be northeast Victoria and into southeastern New South Wales, particularly our alpine areas and west-facing slopes, where we could see falls in excess of 100 millimetres through here, and that could lead to minor to moderate flooding. We could also see some possible flooding as well through northwestern parts of Tasmania, with up to 50 millimetres expected down there. And in anticipation of this rainfall, we also do have flood watches current for northeast Victoria and far southeast New South Wales. So if you live across large parts of southern Australia and southeastern Australia in the coming days, it's important to stay up to date with the latest forecasts and warnings via our website, app and social media as we continue to update these warnings in the coming days.